Hi, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Boss Lady Live. It's Monday, Boss Lady Live time, 8 p.m. sharp. And as usual, we give a few minutes for our customers, our friends, our audience to come on. And please like and subscribe, like and share www.youtube.com/The Totally Male. Getting a little feedback like, let me see. Still hearing it? Okay. No. Welcome to Boss Lady Live. I'm getting a feedback. Can you mute all your mics, gentlemen? Please. Welcome to Boss Lady Live. This is Sandra Samuel, CEO Totally Male. Tonight we're going to speak on our favorite subject, men. So tonight's subject is male versus man. And what exactly is that about? We are saying that you do not become a man just by the fact that you have a penis. That's being male. We're saying that becoming a man is a rite of passage. Becoming a man is a doing word. You don't just be a man. You don't just become. We're also asking the question, can single women, single mothers, can they raise boys to become men? Or do they have to have a mentor? We are suffering in Jamaica from a high rate of crime. We're also suffering from violence from men. The schools, the tertiary institution, it's almost at 80-20 ratio, 80 females, 20 males. What's happening to our men? We need to have that conversation. Good night, Maria. Good night, Leslie. Thanks for joining us. I'll give you a few more minutes to come on. We have a few that have joined so far. Like and share, subscribe to our page, www.youtube.com/The Totally Male. Or you can join us on Facebook at Samuel Sandro, or you can also join us on Totally Male Spa Facebook page. How are you, gentlemen? How are you doing tonight? Welcome to Boss Lady Live.
Not bad.
Good.
Lovely. Everybody had a hard day?
Please don't mention it. Please.
Let's put it this way. I'm still at work.
Okay. So Nashan is now here, so we can now begin. Welcome, Nashan. Welcome.
Yes,
right.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Can you go forward again? Bring your camera up a bit. Right. That's better.
That good?
Much better. Yes.
Wonderful.
Perfect. So I have my full complement of guests. So I'm going to start with the intros. And tonight we have a very important group of men. I like to interview men who are doing something with regards to males, and because I feel, not that because I'm a woman and I'm saying that women are not important, but I do believe in balance, and I do believe that we need each other to raise our families. And somehow I feel strongly that the men are being left behind. So tonight we're going to discuss it. Last week Andre was quarreling on he was a guest. He was not a guest last week. Last week I saw him complaining, no, it's not so, no, don't understand. So I have given him the platform and the opportunity to explain to us, because he is the I'll soon tell you who he will soon tell you who he is. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about Andre P. Blackwood. Very busy man, right? He is currently at separate group of companies. He's a chemical engineer, right? He supervises and trains production assistants. He liaises with upper managerial staff on instructions and task execution, and liaises with relevant departments surrounding smooth, continuous operations and many other things. But he'll tell you a little bit about himself. I'll just give them 2 minutes to tell you a little bit about themselves. Then we have Johnny, affectionately known as Johnny, but he's really John Isaacs, and this is a very special man. And why do I say he's a very special man? Because for the last 8 years, he has raised 3 boys as a single dad, because unfortunately his wife of many years passed and they had 3 boys. And so he had to, whether he was ready or not, take up the mantle and do what he had to do. And he's been a single parent, as I said, from 2012, and the ages at the time were 10, 8, and 6. He's a sales director of Creative Sports and Entertainment Limited, a sports entertainment company specializing in boxing and football and other sports. So you know him have a whole heap of work to do with boys and men, right? And he's also on board of Jamaica Wrestling Federation, right? And on the youth committee for JFF. So him have whole heap of experience when it comes to handling males. And then we have Nashan Miller, and Nashan is Mr. Nashan Miller is a research officer at the Bureau of Gender Affairs, a division within the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment, and Sport, and is also responsible for the special service desk for men. Anybody knew that even existed? You can send a little into the group and let me know, because I didn't know it existed, right? Service desk for men, formerly known as the male desk. That is a good thing, but it needs to be publicized. In this capacity, he is responsible for several functions surrounding men and boys, including but not limited to coordinating the desk and all male-related issues, liaise with various male groups, review and access development programs for men and boys. Where were you all my life? And I have to beat Andre now, because Andre has been in my life for a very long time, and Andre never introduced me to this group at all. So we'll have to have a very strong word with Andre shortly, right? And then we have Courtney and other things, right? And then we have Courtney, who last week we met Courtney, and Courtney says he's a quality analyst, a counselor, male mentor, and also an author, right? And he has a personal mission, and his personal mission is to first of all, empower boys, empower men, and also be a mentor extraordinaire and guide the males of Jamaica to a better, I would say, lifestyle. So we're going to start with Andre, because Andre is the one who really I had the conversation with first, Good night, Shireen. Right? I had the conversation, I started the conversation, and he introduced me to Nashan. And Johnny also was one of the persons who had a lot to say last week, so I had to invite him. And Courtney did not get a chance to finish what he had to say last week, so I had to invite back Courtney. So we're going to start with Andre, and I'll just point to whoever who's next. So, Andre, good night. Welcome. A little bit about yourself, because I didn't get a chance to round up your CV. Let's tell me
About
what
the
you
CV long one, right now.
in at the bureau, and let us take it from there before we go on to Nashan, and then to Courtney, and then to John.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for having me, Sandra. Well, I
You're
like
welcome.
the part where you say I've been in your life for quite a long time. Yeah, it's been
A
a
very long
great
time. So I
professional
don't even know the
relationship.
amount of years, but I know for sure you
Yeah.
were from um around by Brompton.
Uh,
Is that where we met or
yeah.
before that?
Nah, man, before that, man, from Constant Spring Road days.
Right there, then I'm alive, long from
Yeah. Yeah, longer than you think.
exactly. So you see what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah.
alive long time.
Yeah, well, all
Yes.
right. So, just a little about myself. You mentioned the professional aspect, what puts food on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm also a philanthropist. I'm
Right.
one of three directors in the Voices for Jamaica Today Foundation, that is a registered charitable organization. Well, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I'm a father. Yeah, I'm a
Right.
father of one, my 9-year-old daughter, Naisha. Um, what else? The CV is long, so I'll try to keep it short.
Right.
I've been a youth advocate for more than 15 years. I'm in my early 30s. The relationship with the Bureau of Gender Affairs actually started since I was president for the Kingston and St. Andrew Youth Council under the
Okay.
Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. Right. From Fletcher's Land, rough neighborhood, I got positive pushes to the Fletcher's Land Police Youth Club, where I was president, became president for the Kingston Central Police Youth Club Council as interim president, and it kept growing. So
Right.
I started Fletcher's Land, went to Kingston Central, all through Police Youth Club, which is a great positive engagement for youth in the inner city. Um, went to Ministry of Education, and then I was nominated for a Queen's Youth Leader Award by Aluna Samba and my friend Angina Henry, who migrated to Miami. Hope she don't
Okay.
mind me talking our business. Right, so I was nominated for a Queen's Youth Leader Award. Now a member of the Associate Fellowship. I have Associate Fellowship for the Royal Commonwealth Society. Um, the Bureau, volunteered with the Bureau. I passed my 2 minutes yet.
Go on, man. Go on,
Volun-
man.
volunteered with the Bureau for Gender Affairs, gave them some ideas as to directions for International Women's Day, as well as International Men's Day, which I never knew existed until I volunteered with the Bureau for International Women's Day. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
well, there's an International Men's Day. And I'm like, what? Yeah, there's so much to the thing, you know. But those
Yes.
are my main components. I'm also a
Right.
music producer, you know, and it's been great. The Bureau last year, 2019, I think, Nashan, it was, I mean, this year, gave me an award during International Men's Day. They supported a program called Amazing Dads, which I was a part of.
Wow.
Yeah, that was created. That was all over
You're
TVJ.
a single dad as well?
Huh?
You're a single dad as well.
Yeah, well, I don't like the thought to say single dad, but I'm a father.
Okay.
We co-parent, so I'm no
Okay.
longer in a relationship with my daughter's mother, but
Right.
you know the relationship is good. We have a friendship, and we center the relationship around taking care of Naisha.
Wonderful.
So yeah, I've been doing a lot. I do a lot in terms of mentoring young men,
Mhm.
especially those from troubled backgrounds like myself. I do a lot in terms of guiding young men and women into the light, as I would like to say, because there's a lot of darkness around us.
So Andre, you said that you're from a very tough neighborhood, and but you clearly had a positive relationship with the police.
Yes, yes. It
So, but
started from community members.
we hear
Yeah,
about the police, and we only hear about the negativity about the police
right,
in Jamaica. But you have had
right.
a positive experience. Tell us a little bit about that.
You know, sir, I have not had a positive experience. I've had a series of positive experiences because, fortunately, my mother did not have, you know, the garrison mentality to say don't mix with police. I mean, she never
Right.
really mixed with. She never wanted me. I attended Wolmer's Boys at that
Mhm.
time, so she wanted to keep me inside.
Black, I
So
won't hold it against you.
yeah, yeah, man, more and leave no. But all right, I give what I give. Yeah. So really, we had community
Yes.
members, and positive. When we talk about positive, male role models, trust me, it's not a
So
joke.
did you grow up with your dad?
Nah, man, I never meet him until 2014, when I
You were
went to
what
my
age?
first trip in America.
You were what
Hmm?
age? You were what age?
I was 6 years ago, so roughly 27.
Okay.
Yeah,
But as
about
you said,
yeah.
you had positive role models in your life.
Yeah, man, I go and speak to. I might take long to get there, but I
Yeah.
go and speak to how I got involved with the police. So Lincoln Dawson, a community member and member of the police youth club unit, kept nudging my mother, to let me be a part of the scholarship program the police youth club was having at the time. So my mother never want me mix with community people in Fletcher's land, really and truly. But him, man, the man, pressure, till I got the scholarship and I entered the police youth club. And there was a lady at the time, I think she's still a police officer, Miss Blackstock, woman constable Blackstock. She was on me constantly, how your grades, make sure you come youth club meeting. And those were that began my positive influences. The presidents and executives of the youth club, talking about some guys like Rodney McKenzie, Damian Peart. Those are positive young men in their own right, which are positive young men in the community, in the youth club. Those guys were mentoring me, guiding me. Guys from the police force, which I never know a policeman could have played domino or rock with we, in a positive way. Police women giving us positive encouragement. Police youth club movement, nice movement, man. Lovely time as a youth. And that is what saved my life, I can tell you.
Okay. All right. So
Because
when
if it was.
I come back to you, just stick right there. Okay. So over to you, Nashan.
Well, I thought you did the professional introduction. You stated, everyone, I'm Nashan Miller from the Bureau of Gender Affairs. I'm a acting policy analyst, actually, and the lead representative for the Special Service Desk for Men, formerly the Male Desk. You say you never heard of the Male Desk, but
Never
let
heard
you
of
know
it.
that it has been in existence since 2009, and basically we have reached a point where, if you even know, it was the Bureau of Women's Affairs, and by
Mm-hmm.
a cabinet decision 816 on March 21st, 2016, we became the Bureau of Gender Affairs, so that we can incorporate challenges, issues facing our men and boys. Yes, we
Right.
can create programs and things that will address their needs to let them not be left behind, as we like to put it, and they can be just a part of the Jamaican development, Jamaican society, and not just be second class citizen.
Right.
Background of myself outside of the professional aspect, like to probably round it up in 3 words. Portis Cadere Cedere non Portis, Kingston College,
But
um,
my head just
Manchester
started hurting.
United,
Yes,
Manchester
sir, Randy.
United, and a little place called Southside.
Yes.
Outside of that, I have two persons the closest to my two little girls, Nevia and Neymara. Those are my darlings, my love, my everything. Yes, so that's a
So
quick summary. I
are you
can go with
married?
so much.
Are you
Say that
married?
again.
Are you married?
I'm not married, but I'm involved.
Okay.
My beautiful
All right.
partner.
So your experience in terms of, I just want to get a background from everybody. So your experience in terms of males in your life. What
Yes.
was that? There your father in your life, or a uncle, or a just a man in general?
So like Andre, I met my father later. Always been told about, my father looking like him, doing everything like him, but never met him until I was 18. And then I find out, what people have been saying. It's for real, like father, like son. But
Mhm.
there's somebody who has been very integral. And I just want to, call his name, Mr. Coleman Goodrich, my stepfather. He's been there with me from I was a child. And I want to big up all the men out there who are not biological fathers, stepfathers, who have, support their children. Let me feel no less. I have three younger brothers, and he made me feel no less than the rest of them. As a matter of fact, he talked to me, I'm even more closer to him because the
Right.
conversation, being a big brother, being that male figure for them, he let me know that I have to set the example. And I always knew that. But, he was there driving it to say, they're going to follow whatever you do. Yes, seven brothers, seven different minds, but guess what? They're going to look to you. So I have to big up that man. Your mother is there and grandmother, they play a tremendous role in terms of my development. But in terms of men in my life, I have to start right there with my stepfather. And there are other male figures that I look up to over the years and so on. But as I said, it always come back to him.
Why did you think it was important to be in this kind of work?
At the Bureau of Gender Affairs, well,
Yes. How did you get
sometimes,
into that?
at times, you're led, they have the word that they use, and I always want to be a businessman because I think a businessman make money, business them do, but for some reason, I have my master's in sociology, and studying and understanding behavior is critical in terms of, finding policy. I always know that I want to give back and to help, my community and persons around me and so on. But to the extent of a national level and so on, I didn't know if I was quite prepared. But at the same time, having a background in sociology, doing research and talking to people and so on, I recognize that this is very important. So when I got that call to, be the face, the representative for the male decks, it was, quite a no-brainer because this will give me the grand, platform to basically help men and boys in Jamaica. I've advocated for so much regarding our men and boys, and I will continue to push. I would say as long as I'm the lead representative, men issues, you will hear more about it. You say you just hear about the male decks, we'll be there, probably from a decks to a male unit, trying to
Well,
move policy put
I'm
forward.
going to ask you what are some of the initiatives that the male desk started, but I'm going to come back to you on that. Courtney, you're
Yeah.
over to you.
Tell me if you're still here in my television.
I'm hearing a little noise, but go on.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we can
yeah,
still hear you.
fairly,
Um,
fairly.
uh, I can't go any better because if unless I have to move go out on
No,
the
man.
roadside. But
Go on, man. We can hear you. It's not.
so good night. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me again. Last week I had some burning issues that I felt like we went and we did a good discussion, but I believe that there are some things that we needed to talk about that we didn't talk about. And so that's the reason why I am here. But let me start by telling you, in terms of mentorship for me, is actually a very selfish reason. The reason I mentor boys is because I have a daughter and I want to have
Right.
a say in who she marries. And if we have men that are not living up to what we consider to be real men, then my daughter now get the quality man that she wanted. And like Andre and Nashan, I don't know where John come from, but we were neighbors because I lived in Kingston Garden. And unlike Andre, I had a not so positive experience with the police, but I had positive experience with other men. And so for me, I was a boys' brigade from early out. I grew up going to church. So I was not a Christian until later on in my life, but I grew up going to church, and I had like Captain Soma's good man. But I believe the most influential person in my life in terms of the development of my life was a man called S.W. Isaac Henry. And that man had some conversation with me that made a difference. Um, in terms of having a passion, so I do have a passion for men. I have a passion to see men become the best that they can be. And I can't tell you where it started. Nashan said his one started, it was a call. I cannot tell you where it started, but I know that at some point in my life, there was something that I felt. I got tired of hearing women say, I'm man a dog, and him now come to nothing. And I got tired of hearing that. And I believe that if I lived the experience of a man, and I had a good experience, and the experience caused my life to be transformed in a particular way, I believe I had something to give back. And I believe it would have been my responsibility to give back to the men in Jamaica. So I got involved in church and I taught Sunday school. When I got involved in church, I taught Sunday school, as I told you, as a part of the Boys Brigade. And every outreach that involved doing something with men and boys, I would get involved with it. As a Christian, I used to go to Ligani on a Saturday and play football with the unsaved men just to have interaction with men. And so we can have a discussion. And the discussion were not necessarily around Christianity, but it was around men. What makes the man? And as I said to you, Sandra, I don't want us to define men from the dictionary definition that says a man is a male, an adult male that has an XY chromosome. That's not how we define man. That's not how we define man. We define man by the experience, and we'll get more into that later on. But that's it for me.
Okay. Johnny, you had we spoke for about 2 hours after the program. So I know you have some burning issues that you want to get off your chest and have the discussion, with our
Well, we can when we get when all of us get together, we will talk. Let me give you a little background. Unlike I grew up in a two-parent home, um, Beverly Hills. My father was in my life all of my life until I actually moved to Trinidad, which was in my 30s. Um, so the, I am the youngest of five with two sisters and two brothers. And my two brothers were very influential in my life. They were in front of me. I went to KC also. They went to KC. Um, so, but I also went to Georgia, so it's not just KC.
Cool.
But
Good school. Good
but
school.
I think I think the most influential, other than my two brothers who I looked up to and admired when I was a young teenager, my father had asked us that he didn't want to live in the house by himself when everybody was starting to move away. So it ended up that by the time my mother died when I was 20. So at 20, it was just he and I alone in the house. So we became roommates. And it is that time that I actually really got to know my father. And his influence um, has affected me in very profound ways. My father was deputy commissioner of the scouting movement. He was in lodge. Um, he was an educator, a businessman, um, and he wasn't a bossy man, but he was a very influential man, and I didn't realize that until his death, when all the various people from society turned up at his funeral, a lot of men, and I saw big men crying and telling me how I don't understand the impact my father had in their lives. So I kind of got very interested in this whole thing about being a man. Just living with him and realizing, just his quiet strength and the way how he conducted himself. Um, I wanted my boys thinking, but I was always girl centric, so I thought that having 3 girls would be great, because then I would have 3 women that would love me for the rest of my life, and I would be set for life. God decided that it was better for me to have boys, and I have had to take that as a very serious responsibility. And I've always planned to have been in their lives, except that, I had this traditional idea that you take over boys, raising boys was after 13. My family is Jewish. I have a Jewish background. And my father had, even though my grandfather switched us to Christian, my father had these very Jewish ways, which I discovered when I started to just explore the Jewish religion, that a lot of his philosophies about us were actually Jewish philosophies. And they were very, very conscious about one. The Jews are very conscious about the relationship between men and women, and by extension, the family after that. Because they say, if you get the husband and the wife, or the man and the woman relationship well, then society blossoms from that. So I have studied. I had 3 boys. When my wife died and I realized it was me alone, I decided that I needed to get as much information on what I thought would be necessary to raise them. So that's been my story about moving from male to
Okay, so last week, I think Andre was coming out of his skin when I said that I'm having a problem with the men accepting where they are right now. That's how we as women see it. I'm saying, what about the pride of a man, which I assumed was innate, just by being a man and seeing how other men operate? I assumed it would have been innate that a man would have pride and would know responsibility and know his role. And so, Andre, I'm going to kick off there because I know you almost had a cardiac arrest when I was saying that I don't understand why the men have just accepted they just step back and just, accepting this dead role for the last how many years. I just can't understand what's happening to the men.
No. You're pretty it up, man. You're pretty it up. I almost had an aneurysm because you were saying that the paradigm shift is basically what you're saying. No, men being worthless and settling.
No. I didn't use the word worthless.
My words that word.
No, I am saying the environment that I am seeing. This is only my perspective, and I can only speak from my perspective.
Right.
Every day I go on the road, man have no problem to beg me. None at all. I grew up, when I was growing up, if I carry my bag and an attempt to go in my purse to pay the bill, the man look at me like, seriously? Yeah, disrespect me. No.
Right. So let me stop you. Let me stop you there. No,
waiting on you to pay the bill. So
man. So let me stop you there. Don't go no further, man. Don't go no further. So let me address those. So one, you were saying when you used to pay the bills, right? A man would go in his pocket. Now, let's put things into perspective. Sometimes when a man goes into his pocket to pay for a woman, I'm not saying you. Sometimes a man I've done it personally. I've gone into my pocket to pay for something for a woman. And she said, no, I don't have my own money. So that is one. Now, two. Hold on. Let me get the other one.
Yes.
Don't Ian boy in me now. So the next thing is that you said at one point, you know, it wasn't the norm for a man to beg you regularly, but it was the norm for a woman to beg a man. You see the shift? So it shifted.
I
It
wouldn't know that
shifted.
because I grew up independent. So I
No, may
would
I tell you?
not
May I
been
tell
my.
you from my perspective now, So may I tell you as a young man who has been carefully observing all of these shifts, because I'm in categorically I'm in the middle. So I'm one of the first GSAT students, the last common entrance students. So I've seen a lot. 80s baby, last of the 80s, early 90s, I grew up, all of that. So I saw dancehall transform, I saw hip hop, I saw reggae, I glimpsed all of that. So I've been paying close attention. And to be honest, that is what has been my biggest trait that has allowed me to reach the stardom and whatever, as them call it. But that is what I've seen. During the 90s, back in the day, a decade ago, it was the norm for a man to go in a film pocket. Men have learned. I'm not saying, it's the right thing, but the man them learn. The man them, all right, you can call me a single father, wherever you want to put it. When I say to a young lady, I have a daughter, can we date? She say, you have youth, you have a daughter, I want somebody who does not have a child. And I'm like, what? But men have been supporting women with children for how long now? Right?
Yeah, but okay,
so,
let me go on
to
talk.
put things into so to put things into perspective, what may I say? Some of them youth, them see certain things that happen and them change. Cause what? Women are now 75% in college, correct?
Yes.
The numbers is basically 75%. 70 to 8. Where you go? So
75
it's
to
high.
8.
Right, so it's high. Mostly women. Mostly women coming out of college, higher echelons of society, becoming employed. So generally, we have more women than men who are making the money. And then you have less men altogether. So a woman is more likely to be supporting a man financially than what it was.
Men of like minds, or less men.
No matter, you have less men, man. Yeah, you have less men. Because remember when we started, right? I told you I'm from Western Kingston, basically. Now, within Western Kingston, to just give you some numbers, hundreds of men have lost their lives in 3 years. Not even talk 2010, all that far. Hundreds. That's just one division. Hundreds. Half of them I know personally. So the numbers statistically, between 25 to 35 men and boys are the biggest victims and perpetrators of violence. They're dying, literally. So the numbers is literally less man than woman, categorically. Did you know that if you check the PIOJ statistics, there's more unemployed women than men?
So I hear.
I bet most people don't know that. Most people don't know that. But
Yeah,
yet
but
still we talk about the youth them we are rub out them and miggle, but we not talk about the girl them who just bleach out them face.
Call employment. Selling too sweet upon the
formal employment we are talking about. We're not talking about the informal sector, we're talking about formal sector. Formal employment.
I find that difficult. Everywhere I go, I see more women than men. Everywhere.
So that may I say we have more unemployed women than men. That I want to say.
No, you said unemployed.
But yet still we talk more about the youth them rub out them and niggle and do all these things hustle when those young men mostly hustle to get the attention of a woman.
No,
So
you're
we have missed
saying,
some key
Andre,
factors.
I understand what you're
Mm,
saying. You're saying we
mm.
have more unemployed women
Yes.
than men. However,
Hmm.
everywhere I go, I see more women than men. So where are the men employed?
No, man, you see more women than men. Where?
But let me
Employed
interject.
everywhere I go. Bank, insurance company, um,
Right. So,
You're going in
yeah,
offices. You're going
everywhere
in
I
offices.
Sandra, Sandra,
huh?
remind me what.
What about
Remember
the
what I
cons?
said. Oh, who's that?
Remember what? I didn't hear what
Oh,
you said,
good.
Andre.
No, I was saying, remember, the numbers of women are larger than men. So when you say everywhere you go, of course you're going to see that. Because the man them disenfranchised.
No, but you're saying
Man
more
are
women. You're saying less women are employed than men.
No,
Oh,
no,
wait,
man. May I
oh,
say, yeah, yes, I'm saying
of
there's
men
more unemployed.
in
There are
terms of
more unemployed.
percentage.
Huh?
The
Not
percentage,
percentage.
If I
Check
may.
the
the percentage of men
PIOJ.
are smaller.
No, man. Listen to what I'm saying. Check the PIOJ report. When I was
Mhm.
president for Kingston and St. Andrew, I spent 2 days in that institution. And the number was at 844,000 women or something of that sort. So I don't know
Mhm.
what it is today. So I'm telling you the
All right.
actual numbers
If
now.
I may.
All right. So yes, over to you,
Mhm.
Nashan.
All right, a couple of things, Andre, Ethan. Just want to clear it up. Because we're quoting and we don't want to really
Mhm.
misquote and thing. But when it comes to women, we don't want to make this a competition. Man versus woman, it's
Right.
male versus man. Yeah. So I'm trying to just stick to that male versus man because what we talk about is certain amount of masculinity that we ascribe to that is not really healthy. When we're talking about male and the macho aspect of this society and men that they take on, the image that they take on, and so on.
Right.
We talk about statistics and we recognize that a lot of the main areas in education, in the labor force, I was just coming from a program where we talk about male marginalization. We talk about health related issues. We're talking about parenting. We're talking about violence and so on. We can show that, Anjay say 34 persons between 34 years are perpetrators of violence, and it's actually the biggest
20,
number is
25 to 35.
between 15 and 29, which is the youth age, right?
Mhm.
38.9% of youths commit the most crime, and they are the highest um,
Mhm.
in terms of prevalence rate being
Right.
committed. So I just want to put certain things out
All right.
there.
So,
You know,
but before we go any further, let me ask you
yeah.
something. Because it's a burning question for me from last week.
All right, yeah.
I am saying, if this is the case, why isn't the funding? I'm not saying no. All right. Let me be very clear before women think that I'm against women. Why is it that most of the funding is focused on women, where the perpetrators of violence are men? The perpetrators of not the perpetrators, the persons that are not stand up to their responsibility in their homes are men. The persons that are committing suicide are men. The persons that are doing the crime are men. Why aren't we doing being proactive about stopping it from early than having to fix it after it done gone bad already?
All right, so that's a very important question, very critical.
Dr. Gale says, Dr. Herbert Gale says he can't get funding.
Very important. You know why is that? Because we talk about a society that have patriarchal values, a society in which we talk about male hegemony being dominated by men, right? But a lot has changed. You and Andre were talking about gender roles and responsibility and the changes, and the world is not, it doesn't stop. It's constantly moving, right? So you find more women are participating in the labor force, in education. As you said, 2/3 of women who have a tertiary degree compared to our men, right? So
Mhm.
The world is evolving. But what you find out, once upon a time, women were so discriminated against. There were so many barriers preventing women from achieving their full potential. And there still remains a lot of barriers in decision-making areas such as politics or in the boardroom. You're a CEO of a very large enterprise, right? A very recognized, popular brand, and that's good. But how many women you find who are entrepreneurs, who are head of these organizations? So what was happening is that women weren't participating in decision making and certain aspects of society that are critical. Yes? So you have developed global or international development partners. They decided to push forward funds, as you would say, support for women so they can grow in these areas. And what you find, it led to our men and boys being left behind. So
Why?
even
Why though?
okay,
Why is it a choice? Why is it a choice? I soon come to you,
that's
Johnny.
the
Why is it a
that's that
choice though? Because
that's what I
why are you going to spend money? This because I don't see the rationale in this. Why are you going to spend money to take care of the woman that is being beaten, to have to build a home, to put her in, when the man is the one doing the beating? Now, if you stopped him from doing the beating, then you wouldn't need the home, you wouldn't need the shelter, and she would not be in a situation that she wouldn't need the counseling and all the other expenses that goes along with that. So I am
it's important.
saying I don't understand.
As I said, you're asking question that even myself asked when I just started the Bureau of Gender Affairs. Andre will tell you. Listen, there was basically little to no funding for men and boys. And I'm like, hold on. If we're talking about suicide rates, men are what, 89% of suicide victims up to sometime this year are men and boys. We talk about violence, as I said, 90% of the 95% of perpetrators of violence are men and boys, and 90% of the victims of violence are men and boys. If we talk about education, we talk about health, we talk about these critical areas, we recognize that our men are being marginalized. So why is it that the global community decide to focus just on women? As I said, it's coming from that place the years ago. But what do we have today in today's society? We have a society, as I said, that basically, if you say anything about a man or a boy, it's probably a certain amount, it carries certain amount of weight that it's almost like people accept that it's okay for men to be victims of violence because they have been dominated. It's okay for a man to underperform, or okay for it's become a competition. Men being pitted against women, right? It's a competition, male versus female. It's not a relationship where we're saying here at the Bureau of Gender Affairs, in the ministry itself, that we are not going to say fund men only, fund women only, but we want to remove barriers that prevent both our men and boys, our women and girls, from achieving their full potential. So contributing to men program or focusing on men program doesn't take away from the focus on women program, because
No,
everything boils down to a dual relationship, us working together and
absolutely.
achieving equality. When you talk about gender studies, we recognize that it's almost synonymous for the global community. It's synonymous with women's development. The sustainable development goal, you have what, 19 of them. Number 5, you talk about gender equality and women's empowerment. So men basically weren't at the table. But no, we have
But I
recognized
don't
that,
understand that because men were the leaders, right?
yes,
Correct me if I'm incorrect, right?
yeah, man,
Men were the leaders. Remember, we just catch up, We as women just catching up, right?
yes.
Right?
No.
No,
That's wrong. That's
No, go
wrong.
ahead, go ahead.
men. This is my view. We are
Yeah.
saying
Yeah,
the reason why so much money now is being pumped into women because for such a long time, women were the ones that were marginalized. They were the ones relegated to the home, cooking and cleaning and taking care of their husbands, not going out there, equal work for equal pay, all of these things. But men were out there running the world. So why, when they saw what was happening, why wouldn't they have said, hold on, wait a minute, we're losing our way here. What can we do? Yet still, women somehow, I don't know where it started because I didn't do much of our research, but that's why I always invite the experts to explain to me. But I'm just saying from my layman term and from what I'm seeing out there and having dealt with men and boys for 26 years, what I'm seeing, I'm saying if we say men run the world, because that's what I'm saying, men run the world.
Yeah, that's fallacy. That's a fallacy.
Pass some Christian and picnic first. Why wouldn't they have said, okay, we're losing our way at the same time that we're helping women? Why don't we help our counterpart men for balance? Help them up. We realize that the men are falling by the wayside. They are not working. Especially in Jamaica, you from 8 o'clock in the morning, them digging out them hand middle. I don't get it. I really don't get it. And so that's why I'm having this forum, because I want to know what it is that we can do. And I'm gonna take John.
John has him on.
I want to know what it is that we can do as a community, as a society, to let men understand. And there's only one answer to this question, as far as I'm concerned. Men do not know their value. They were never taught.
No, hold on. See, I say a whole heap of things that Sandra. I know John will jump in. It's not taught. They are constantly belittled. Men are constantly belittled.
That's why a man can just get up, breed 10 women, and boast out the street, or have 10 baby mother, and have no connection with taking care of these children. There is a disconnect. And I can say that there's a disconnect because I am a product of a single parent home. There is a disconnect, and my father was educated, but he never made the connection of him being responsible for these children right here. So, you understand? And so I'm having a challenge with why there's a disconnect with men understanding what men need and what they need to do for their male counterparts. Johnny, having grown 3 boys.
So let me ask you a question. The glass house is still being run by men. The centers of power are still controlled by men. But what a lot of people are not looking at is the economic value of women. Capitalism is what runs this world. And those people in power have realized that, and women are complaining, that it is easier to educate women and put them in a certain class in terms of management, pay them less than men, make more money. Women also, the power situation still allows those men at the top to dictate what happens. And the rest of the men below are the consequences of the fact.
No, you lost me, Johnny. You lost me.
Which
you lost me. Reason why
no, it's simple. If you look at capitalism, it is easier. I mean, look at the banking system and stuff. A lot of women are in managerial positions, and women are still complaining that even though they have the qualification, they are being paid less than a man in the same position. Men still. So, if I'm a capitalist and I am dealing with making money, it makes sense for me to get the same ability and pay them less. Capitalism is all about exploitation. When you tie that to feminism, which, as Andre pointed out, and Nashan, that the fact is that women have been oppressed, and the feminist movement has moved very hard to try and equalize. People have jumped on board that bandwagon to say, listen, we need to help women. and ignore the fact that other men, let us not say all
never
men,
all.
because the people who are
understood on this program, it's never
exactly,
all.
so the people who are,
it's never all. We're talking about either the majority or what is taking over. It's because it's never all. Because we don't live in an ideal situation.
yeah, but we have been living in a society where it is the haves and the have-nots. And if you look at the haves and the have-nots, and you look at the society based on that idea, you realize why the haves, the men who are at the top, are still at the top, and they still maintain that power. And the have-nots have no power.
Saying,
and the whole idea of
you are
men
saying
being
that the men at the top deliberately suppress the men at the bottom. That's what you're saying?
No, they don't care about the men at the bottom. You are asking why men have not looked out for their fellow, and I'm saying that there's an economic reason for not doing that. Because if you wanted a manager, you could get a very qualified manager, a woman, and pay her less. Why would you take a man and pay him more when you could get a woman and pay him less if you're a true capitalist? Capitalism is about cutting down your expenses and maximizing your revenue. So we're dealing with a world where capitalism is the economic model, and we're not realizing that it is affecting our social structure. We're not making the connection between social structures that are there. I mean, Andre, fact is very true that there is a lot of men dying, and probably more men die than women. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot more women than men.
That perspective.
And that is what he was trying to say. He was saying that because there's so much more women, the statistics is saying that because there's more women are unemployed. Than not to say that more women are you understand? That's what he was trying to explain.
Yeah, I got that.
So much more women, that more women are unemployed.
But John, to your point on the economy.
Hold on. Before you take over, because Courtney been trying to say something for the longest. Yes. Let us give him a chance.
All right, so I hear the arguments about women this and women at the top and men at the top, but I believe I just looked at the screen and saw male versus men. I think the question is, we're here because we're trying to determine is there a difference between male versus man? Because the comparison between a woman and where a woman go and where a man go is not telling us whether or not a male is different from a man. And I want to go back to something Sandra asked. I wrote it down. He said, see how other men act and improve on your behavior. That's what we want to look at. Where a male versus a man, what is the difference between the two? And so I hear all of the arguments, and it's a good argument, but I think this is for the forum where we discuss the man versus the woman, or who have more opportunity. We're looking at, does society and culture influence manhood? Does a father play a role into a boy becoming a man? I think that's what we want to be looking at.
How it started, Courtney, is that I am trying to understand why men are not accepting their roles. That's where keep on going.
No, but Andre is right. Andre is right about the marginalization.
The males not matriculating into manhood as they should.
Yeah, but I'm gonna jump on Courtney's thing. If you look at the tradition, boys need a tribe of men to become a man.
And that's why they join gangs.
So if you look at it, but you see, they join gangs and hang out with boys their own age or just above them, which they can't teach them how to be men.
True.
Older men teach younger boys how to be men. I mean, ancient cultures that have been around for thousands of years, the Aboriginal Australians, the Native Americans, they all recognize that there's a point in a boy's life where you move him from the company of women and you bring him into the world of men. And they teach that boy what it is expected as you said, Andrea, you started it. Manhood is about doing. Women get to be, girls get to be women by just being.
Exactly.
No,
But
we
men,
kind of graduate because you get to a certain age, your period, you see your period,
exactly.
and then your womanhood starts there. And then
Yeah, no man notice.
talk to you about getting pregnant, but you gonna play football.
Yeah, but
Right. So let me jump in, John.
And Dr. Samad said many men become fathers, but with women saying to them, "Me miss my period." No, without having a conversation about how do I navigate this thing here.
Wait, what you say? Women don't have that conversation?
No, I'm saying mothers.
Yeah.
Whether they say it to them in a cussing way, or in a frightening way, or in a intellectual way, it is said. So it's either them will say anything out the road, anything out the road, you stay out the road with it because the boy touch you, you're pregnant or whatever. The conversation is bad. But how many men or how many males get that conversation from a man?
Exactly.
About, look here, this is your responsibility. If you go and have sex with a young lady without a condom, and about apart from a little conversation that is have had at school, that's if you go to school.
Right. So which man are gonna have that conversation, Sandra? I'll be a woman there.
Courtney, hold on. As a mentor, Courtney, when should this conversation take place?
Well, I don't think that there is a time and place in terms of you have to be 13 or 14. I don't think there's an age for the conversation to happen. I think once you hold on, I'm saying let me say
changing and okay and then getting them like a penis stand up in the morning and all of these things. No
Sandra,
male have
Sandra,
no conversation at that time.
Sandra, our penis stand up probably at 6. So if that's what you're going to say, so here's the conversation. When a man is involved in a man's life, a boy is involved, and Nashan and Andre and John can attest to this. When you are involved in a boy's life, he will share some things with you, and the conversation will naturally happen. Andre say, how the conversation can happen when the house full of women? It can't happen. But when you have a male in your life, he's going to share with you about the experience of becoming a father, unprepared father. And those are some of the... So it can be 13, it could be 12, it could be a 10-year-old. But you have to be involved in the boy's life to have the conversation.
The man has to better.
Yeah.
All right, quickly.
The male person has to be involved for the boy. Okay. There's a gentleman called Robert Blythe, who is the father of the American men movement. He's a very famous poet. And I remember watching a documentary where he made a point. He says, he made the point that women really and truly cannot raise boys to be men, and for simple reasons. He says, when you have a daughter and you are an outstanding woman and she's looking at you, she can say, I want to be like my mother. That boy cannot say that. He can only say, oh, my mother is a great woman. But he can't say, I want to be like my mother if he acknowledges his mother. He has to have a male mentor, somebody that he can say, I want to be like that. That is who he can relate to.
Yes.
And a lot of women have made this mistake of thinking, I can raise boys. I can turn them into men. No, boys become men because of bigger men teaching them what it is. The fathers, the uncles, the big brothers, those are who teach boys how to be men. All of us who went to KC is a man institution, and they push very masculine traits. That is why KC boys are unusual the way they are, because it's a very masculine thing. No, and I'm giving you that because my sons go to Wolmer's, and I went to Georgia, and I could see the difference. I could recognize the difference.
Good institution, man. Good institution.
I could recognize the difference.
But quickly, if I may, Sandra talk about the rite of passage. with our young girls having that conversation, once they start saying having breasts are, you know, their period come, and there's no rite of passage for our young boys. Most of the time, it's on the corner amongst their friends. Them say, "Yo, if I breathe something,
in a gang.
hold on." Yes, we're talking about that, but we're saying
that's what I'm saying.
Even in our everyday society, we talk about what we call toxic masculinity. Some of these traits that we
What is
put out
toxic
there.
masculinity? I've heard that term. What is toxic masculinity?
All right, quickly.
Young behavior.
Hold on. It's those cultural norms and behaviors that we prescribe. We basically tell our men and boys that they should. To be a man, you have to look like this. You have to act like this. You have to sound like this. You're not supposed to display emotions. You're not supposed to seek help. You're supposed to be self-reliant. You're supposed to be dominant. These are the type of behaviors we call toxic because they are very harmful to the man himself and to probably women and society in general. So that term, as I said, I try not to use it as much because we don't have something for a woman, but it's those behaviors really and truthfully that are in men that are harmful to themselves and society at large. But going back to what you're saying, right? We don't have a rite of passage. We hear most of these things. As I say, when you know a woman become pregnant as a man, is when she tells us she misses her period. You're not prepared. Why do you think you have so many fathers running? We talk about postpartum in a woman. Men run too. Run from the responsibility. Why? Because of the stressors, the responsibility that comes with it. They're not understanding what it is to be a father. So you tell me at 19 when I'm just about to say go to college or graduate or whatever it is that you're becoming a father. Never hear what before because my mother take care of me or my father usually take care of me. But guess what? I never even see it in the woman thing. What am I gonna do? You know why it was a little easier for me? Because all of my life I said to myself, I don't want to become like my father, running from my responsibility, leaving me and not knowing what is happening with me. So whoever I'm with, whether or not I'm in a relationship, once there's a child, I'll be the best father I can be. That's for me. But what about that young boy who perhaps it just breed a girl, that's the term we use, and he doesn't know how to navigate this. What he does. And they will say in my work list, we say him at this, but we never take the time to find out how it affected him mentally, even economically, how it affected him and what should be done. What programs and policies can be implemented to help young men like this? Which is why at the Bureau, I want to talk about two quick programs. First is the school mentorship program. Andre, you're a mentor, right? As I said, we have two schools that we're looking at, pilot schools, where select 15 boys from each, and we want to use those to understand how mentorship. We know mentorship is impactful, how it can be positive, but we want to spread it in schools as far as possible. Then we have a Young Fathers Initiative, where we tell youth fathers between 15 and 29, we develop programs for them, capacity building, life skills, and so on to help them become better fathers or understanding their role as a father. Because as I said, a lot of them don't understand what.
Nashan, write me up, Nashan, write me up.
Mentorship. Just hit me up and share my number. I need mentors as much as possible.
Write him up.
But I have Ailey Selassie and I've St. Andrew Technical Eye.
Are we have someone St. Andrew Technical? I feel me,
yeah, man. Yeah. I have 15 boys from there already. I have 15 boys from Ailey Selassie. We're going to pair them with mentors because for myself, most of you don't know, I had a mentor. His name is Mr. Dan Webby, CEO of Grace Kennedy.
Wait, you're Ghana Woolmans, man. You're Ghana Woolmans.
Georgia. Mr. Webby at Georgia. Yes.
So it's one connection. It's one connection.
Oh no. It's in Boston.
No, man, you don't reach Van Nard Street yet. No, but mentors are very critical. But mentors are very critical to a lot of young men development.
Let me give you a little bit of insight.
No, before you go, Andre, let me just answer a point. Sandra made a point about toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And just today I read something from a gentleman, David Gilmour. He writes about men. And David Gilmour made a point. He says toxic masculinity. So Nashan mentioned the kind of behavior that men exhibit that, you know, is wrong and it's harmful. But David Gilmour said toxic masculinity isn't something men are born with and needs to be cleansed. We don't need to be cleansed of it. He says it is the manifestation of excess masculine energy that cannot be taken out elsewhere.
Yes.
That is the real crisis of masculinity. Men lack an outlet to push out the things then, because when you bottle up certain thing, because you remember there's this crew once called Fatherless Crew from Rosetown. That was being glorified. The badmanism was being glorified. Where were the men to say to them, this was not the right way? There was nobody to tell them. And because they never had a father, because their fathers were murdered, they never had fathers who could tell them how to behave and how to do the right thing as a man. We never have that. And if you don't have that, you cannot know how to become a proper man. Let's put it this way. You cannot move from being totally male to totally man.
Right.
You can't. You can't.
All right, but let me ask you a question. The gangs. How many gang members are in their 50s and 60s?
Just the top tiers. But the reason why
let me tell you what I ask you. Because a lot of inner city guys join gangs, and the age difference in the gangs are not that wide. And how many of the old how many old gangsters do you have? How many gangsters do you know that live to 50 or 60 that are still in gang?
Yeah, but they're still there, both. Let
me tell you why I make that statement. They had an incident in South Africa about elephants, which is an extremely intelligent animal. And because of the numbers, they moved some male elephants to another retreat. I mean, another protective area. And the youngsters went crazy. They were amongst themselves and they were destructive. And they needed one of the native people to explain to them that it is the elder elephant that maintains the youth. So they brought in older males, and that herd just calmed down. Now, if you look at gang relations, which a lot of people tie themselves to, it is persons their age. And if we're talking about understanding how to move from a boy to a man, you need an elder to be able to give you. That is what all the traditional cultures did. It is not young men, 20-year-olds teaching 12-year-olds how to be men. It is 30 and 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds teaching 12-year-olds how to be men. That is what happens in the Jewish religion. It is the older men who teach the young boys, listen, these are the traditions of our culture. This is what it means to be masculine in our culture.
But John,
and they have the experience.
The laws indicate that in the Bible. The scriptures tell you that the old men must teach the younger boys. And if you don't have older men teaching, so you can't teach me something if you have never experienced. You can't teach me. If you have never experienced what it means to be a father, can you teach me to be a father?
Exactly.
So in order to move from the stage of being male to man, it needs to take somebody who lived as a male and graduated into a man.
All right, so I'm going to give you an example. We did a myself and a group of guys for Woolman did a father and son, and then we turned it into a father and son men and boys retreat, where we did it for third form, and we told the women that they could not get involved. This was only for, and the reason why we came up with the men and boys is that we realized that some of the boys did not have their fathers in their life, and we told the women and tell your brother, tell your uncle, we even allowed an older brother to come to the group, and we went all the way up to Cooper's Hill to Major Lewis's house, and we went, men need activities. We went on a hike, and then when we came back, we ate and we sat down, and we had a gentleman called Kevin Wallen, who was the wrestling president at the time, but is also a motivational speaker. And Kevin did a simple process of teaching the boys just how to shake people's hand, how to be a man and shake and look people in the eyes. Listen, we did it for all the boys who wanted to come. We did it for every single class in third form. All the men were ranting and raving. One of the boys said the older brother said he wished somebody had taught him these things because he didn't know these things. Right? I am still in correspondence with these men because it brought us, we became a tribe. I mean, afterwards, when we went to school, all the boys that were there, we all as men inquired about what was going on. When we saw them on the campus, we said, hey, what's going on here? How things? So they had a whole bunch of elder men who were interested in them.
Right.
And we have to maintain it. As a matter of fact, we are now in this idea of just trying to do a similar thing, but make it as big as possible. Informal men and boys, fathers and sons club. Go on hikes. We have spoken to some military men, so hopefully that, if we go on a hike, they can teach us some survival training, because men like to do stuff.
Yeah, but Johnny,
men are doers.
Johnny, you're speaking about boys in school. What is happening with the boys who are not in school?
No, but you see, when I mentioned that, father said, what about my son in university? What about I said, listen, it's men, it's fathers and sons, because the relationship is between elder and boy. And boy don't necessarily mean high school boy, because I learned a lot.
People fatherless.
But Sandra,
all of boys are fatherless.
Sandra, let me answer.
They're not at school.
But let me answer the question that you're asking, John, Sandra.
Yes.
We work closely in the Swallowfield, Nannyville community. And so we started out by playing football on a Friday. We used to call it Boys Club. And these inner city boys who had no fathers, or fathers were murdered, or father was just not at home. And you may be familiar with Kids Clinic. Dr. John Royce, he was the leader for that. And what we did was, when we played football with them, so we started off with, like, let's say about 18 boys. At one point, we had over 100 boys, because you see, when the boy leave, him go tell him brethren. And so another boy would come, and the mentorship began. And at some point in time, we didn't even have space for the boys, because the purpose of mentoring a boy into becoming a man and trying to change his or transform his behavior is to get him to go back into his community and transform the behavior of somebody, or bring him to be transformed. It's a ripple effect we're trying, And so mentorship works that way. So if I get something good, John says men are doers. And it's true. If we do something or we see something, like, it's when you play street football, when you come from the inner city and you play street football, you play a ball today and you kick your breadfruit or you kick your stuffed ball until you get a soccer. When you're kicking it, tomorrow you carry your brethren who probably live down James Street to come play ball with you, because you have found something that is beneficial and you want your brethren to experience it. And that's how you go back into the inner city and pull out the boys who don't have no father. Now, are we going to reach all of them? No. We're not going to reach all of them. But our hope is that when we go in the community and when we share with one youth, when share with another youth, and then we bring him come, and by that we're bringing them across the line. That's what the thing said.
We talk about.
But let me ask you a question, Sandra. Sandra, is the problem only with inner city kids, or is it the same thing with middle class and upper class?
Same thing.
Exactly. So
the father is not absent, but the father is working day in, day out. Because we started this conversation, so I'm going to segue to what we said before. Because fathers are considered not important.
I can read the poem now, Sandra.
All right. So that's where I was going. That's
right.
where
Our
I was
society
going,
believes.
John.
Listen,
John,
there are
that's
three
where
things
I
that
was
fathers
going.
are known to
And I
do.
want to speak to Nashan. We talk about talking to the boys, but who is speaking to the single mothers? Who is
Exactly.
speaking to the women?
Exactly.
Nashan.
The woman. The woman in relation to the boys they are raising.
Yes, because they themselves, say I got this because they're working good money, them have them thing together, and so I don't need you. So who is taking up that job to say, hey mother, look, although you got this boy still needs a mentor in his life because of X. Who is having that conversation with the
Well,
mother?
well,
No,
Sandra.
Nashan, hold on, let Nashan.
Yeah, Nashan, go on.
A Bureau of Gender Affairs position.
All right. So I've asked myself that question before because you notice I talk about toxic masculinity and the traits, that characterize what is not right for men to do, right? But we don't have such a term regarding
Oh,
our
we
women
do.
and girls.
They do.
We, there's no,
They,
hold on. The conversation surrounding our men and boys is totally different from that which surround our girls, women and girls. You have conversation where when it comes to our girls, we tell them to be independent, don't depend on no
it's
man, and so
tricky.
on. Right? So, what is it when they put certain amount of expectation regarding parenting on our men? We know to tell our men not to do this, not to hit our woman, not to treat them in such a way, not to do this. What do we tell our girls? We tell our girls almost from a selfish position to be alone. You don't need a man to do certain things that not partnership. So we encourage our men to be partners and to be equal. But we tell our girls to be independent and do things alone. Right? We don't tell them that, hey, this is wrong. If you tell a woman that she's doing something wrong, you might be deemed as a sexist. You might be
No, but it's
labeled
not about being
like,
wrong. It's about what is best for her son. No, we're
so
not
that
saying that that child won't excel and become a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. But however, there's something about his development.
yes.
There's something
As I
lacking
said, the
in his
conversation,
development because that transition that is needed from boyhood to manhood cannot be taught by a female.
Okay,
Because
Right.
she's
remember
not
what I
male.
said
So
earlier?
let me help. Let me help
Remember
with
what?
that. Let me help with that.
All right, Andre.
So there's a reason why I went as far back as I did in terms of history, right? So I'm an 80s baby. The
Yes.
70s and as far back as World War, men have been going to war, men have been leaving. Now I kept asking the question, who is going to teach a man to pass boyhood? My personal experience as a boy growing into a man, when me did have a wet dream, my mother, me couldn't tell my mother, because I wonder what is this? You understand? So that is what I am saying to you and have been saying to you, because you're saying, well, men are in charge. Why have they not, done anything?
No. I'm also
done enough.
I'm on your side, I'm on your side.
Right.
In the sense that I am saying these women, these powerhouses that
Right.
saying that they have everything together, because I'm having a conversation
Right.
with feminists next week. So I'll have that
Right.
conversation. But what I'm saying, who is there to say to them that, look, all right, many women use the children as pawn. Now we're not bashing women. Let me not let nobody say I'm bashing
So
women.
may I move into answering?
Because they're hurt, right? And men do it. Men do it too, right?
Yes.
They block the father from the child, or give the child. And this is if the man wants to have a level of relationship, because some men just walk off. So let us call a spade a spade. Some men just walk up and don't want to have anything to do. If she's not sleeping with him, Him not pay no bill and him not take care.
Yes. And it's similar for women, right?
So after Andre speak, I want to say something to what Sandra said.
I've seen fathers, me personally, I've seen fathers ball where woman run off with a child, right? They don't know where to find the picnic, right? They want, they try them carry them, go court, them do everything to be in the child's life. And they're in that fight, that struggle. Now, in terms of this level of selfishness, in terms of not understanding what a boy needs, or even a girl, because I'm thinking about myself who have that hole, that father hole in my heart, right? That said, boy, every man will run off and leave me. That man is not going to be consistent because that's who my father was.
Right. So the question is what, though?
Women, but although boys and girls, but it affects us differently. It affects us in the way we relate.
Right. So Sandra, you've been saying it for a while.
Conversation about how we are going to bring these boys, raise these boys as men, as whole men. Whole men.
So we're on site, but we're on site. We're on site, you know. So you asked a number of questions, so please listen carefully.
Yes.
You asked who is speaking to the mother, who is speaking to the women. You have the National Parenting Support Commission, or whatever they want to name, them talk to women. You see me? But the biggest problem is that there's not enough of those men that you're saying who are asking them who are going to teach the young boys to transition. Nashan said it. There is no, what you call it, tribe.
Right.
Not enough of the tribe. John Isaacs also said it. That there is an agenda. Because there is an agenda, and we're not going to really speak to it because we don't want them lock off the program. There's an agenda. The perpetrators and victims are between 15 to 35, Nashan. And not even 15 to 29, because I'm 33 and some of my friends them are lead the gang. I talk straight. Yeah? And at them I give the youth them the gun. And I say, better way I give the youth gun for give the youth a book. Because of that, them give him. So you see, we have to be basically the tribe of good. The organization of good. And Nashan spoke about it. Courtney spoke about it. John Isaac has 3 boys at Wolmer's. You know, we form mentorship groups, we form football groups, we support these things, but the agenda overshadows it. That G word, agenda, overshadows it. So they pay more attention to women and girls, but them now look on the perpetrators enough. And that's why Herbert Gale study says most of the men in prison were raised by women.
Yes.
Because the women them not get it. So
quickly.
Well, let me just finish with personal statements. Thank God for my mother. You understand? Because my mother never get it. She realized that she could raise me. My energy did different. Me never look on her and say, I want to try on her bra or her ears. Look on her and say, oh, mommy, I rode. Even though she tried to graze me as a house shot at Wolmer's. I jump through the window. Jump through the window for go out the road. Because I don't want to watch Young and Restless. I want to play football and basketball. And you see, if I never for the youth club, because when I jump through the window, I jump into a youth and him give me a gun. I talk straight and play. And I give him back the gun and say, my mother will beat me if I carry this. But the youth club embrace me, those men who are positive role models. And I call them names. Rodney McKenzie, who was the president, Lincoln Dawson. They formulated a group they call the Inner Circle. And me did shy at Wolmer's and them draw me in. And they spoke about positivity and you saw how they behaved as men. And that's how I turned out to be the Andre Blackwood of today. Now, I mentored a youth named Dwayne Extal, and this is one of the final things. I not even did remember some mentor Extal. I Extal up on TV, you know, and I do a whole heap of things. When Extal came to Wolmer's in first form, I was in about fourth form. And Extal lost his father. And the key club president at Wolmer's at the time, Whyte, is now at Ministry of Finance. We're supposed to meet tomorrow too. Him say, yo, that you tell me your mentor. This is basically my mentor. Come to me and say, more your mentor. I'm going to say, better you want to talk to a first farmer than Jaja. And him carry me and Extal go everywhere when we go. Everywhere, literally. So when we all go Wolmer's girls and we are trying to look 1 and 2, Extal there beside of me and the man must say, brother, what you had with the first farmer? I'm going to say, you're the school, man, the youth losing father and rare. Fast forward to now, Extal is a part of the Bureau of Gender Affairs. He did his SimSoul sessions. He's mentoring so many youth. He's been, and that is how we are going to change it, Sandra.
So that answers your question, Sandra. Really that answers your question.
How can we get more of that, though?
Yeah, but hold on. But here,
we need to get more into it.
Here where you play an important.
The point from
there's a group of mothers who believe that they can do it all. Yes. And what they need to understand is the same thing I just said. When that little boy looks at them, he cannot be them. So if they really care about their son, I'm not saying that they need to find somebody that is masculine, that they trust, that they respect, that is willing to be a part of that kid's life. If they don't have the father, the biological father, have a brother, have an uncle, have a preacher, have somebody that they can trust, that can be a part, that is willing to be a part of the life. And the person don't have to come and chat, you know, the person just have to
be there.
Like what Andre say, have
just
the kids
listen.
Company and listen. Yeah. One of the most important things I have realized with raising my boys is the fact that I am still very pleased that all of them, for various reasons, come and tell me stuff. They feel like they want to talk to me. They want to tell me. Yeah. The middle one who seems to be a scientist, he want to discuss big psychological stuff to me. The other one who is a rapper, he tell me about him rapping. And the last one who is planning to become the multi-millionaire, talk about in schoolwork and all the stuff that he's going to do to move forward. Because a lot of kids, what they don't have is somebody to listen to.
That's right. You see, a lot of us, Sandra, we want to give advice to these boys, but sometimes the boys want to be heard.
Yes.
That's simple. They want to be heard.
Yes,
we always want to tell them how they're supposed to be, and this is how I did it.
Yes.
These are two different things. You have to understand culture.
And then you have effect on them.
Yes.
Once they feel comfortable, you can affect them. Once they feel that you have their interest at heart, they will be affected by you.
Courtney, you were saying that because we want a solution, and you were saying that I think who was it that said that they have a group? Was it Nashan who said no? Johnny.
Yeah.
Johnny was that mentor group. We were having that same discussion that we were saying, boy, it would be nice if we could invite some men to, become mentors and do like maybe once a quarter, because we know everybody busy. But how do you navigate that when you have them looking up to mentors like the DJs? How do you, and I'm not saying looking up to the DJs is a bad thing, right? It's not. But that is who is in their face, on a daily basis. Them have a steady diet of DJs or movie stars or that kind of thing that they look up to. Now, for that one-on-one exchange and to have conversations that matter, right? Nashan, where do we start? Because you
Yeah,
have
so
the
quickly.
Where do you say we start as a nation, as even women out here looking, listening? Where do we start? Fathers who are not in their children's life right now, but them well want to get back in there, but don't know how to navigate having that serious conversation with their baby mothers.
Conversation and awareness. Conversation and awareness. Because what you find, I want to go back to your point regarding, what do we tell our young girls or the girls that have these spouses and partners? I don't want to move away from it so quickly. Because as I said, I was trying to make the point that we talk to our men about behaviors that are not right, that are harmful and detrimental to them. But we have basically, in terms of gender discussion and dialogue, we don't talk to girls about what they're doing that is wrong. To say that a girl is wrong in her behavior is it's sexist. And we need to become more open in terms of addressing these needs. And to say that we're talking to a girl, we're not bashing her and saying she's wrong, but we're correcting behavior and certain stereotypes and norms that will cause the same harm that I alluded to, that will be things that will be harmful to our men and boys. It can be the same for women and girls. So we have to, those persons, those academic, those experts and so on, you find a lot of them regarding gender discussion. It's so much easy to bash a man, and it's okay to do it and tell him that you're wrong, that's toxic, that's not the behavior. Sometimes rightfully so, but we say nothing to our girls about what is expected. To say that you're expected to do this as a girl, so you're basically suppressing her, you're not liberating her, you're not empowering her, right? That's what those are the terms we use.
We have to find a middle ground. They have to find a middle ground because we have to learn to coexist.
We have to say that it's okay if you're a woman and you're not doing something. I'm not being sexist. I'm just telling you that behavior, you calling a man worthless, you tell him that you don't want to see him unless he have money, you saying certain things, or you saying to a boy child, listen, we don't want you if you're not a bad man, if you're not do certain things. We don't say anything about that. Or we can talk about men being dominant, being self reliant and so on. We can talk about all these things that are associated with our men, but we can't say anything about our girl. We teach them just to be liberated and free and independent, but yet still we're to coexist. They're going to be independent in a society that we're dependent on each other. Yes? That is one I want to talk about. We need to be we have to open dialogue when it comes to our women and girls. Once upon a time, I was so afraid to talk about any woman issue. It's like I'm walking on eggshell, because by the mere fact you say something that is critical of a woman, you're being sexist. And we're saying we need to move to the point that we can be open and say, I'm wrong as a man, he's wrong as a man, you're wrong. And so these are the measures we need to put in place to address them. I'm not to say that because I'm saying you're wrong, or I'm being a male dominant, and it's just because you're a woman and you're in an inferior position and so on. We need to be open and be truthful.
Hey, Sandro.
All right, I would say, all right, from a female standpoint, I think we need to decide what we want our society to look like.
Yes.
That has to be a decision. And so when you make that decision, if it's for our families, because we talk about Jamaica being a place to raise our families, work and do business, but what does a family structure look like? What do we want it to look like? And then you open that conversation, because I'm saying, I can see from my vantage point, and I don't take it lightly. I see the difference when a boy comes to the barber with his father. There is a difference, right? Now, I am not. Remember now, women will have to do what they have to do. But we as women, and I want to say I include myself, we tend to be enablers. Apart from the fact that we tend to be enablers, we do not know how to, or we do not know when to teach people how to treat us. And so if you want this from a man in terms of how they're going to treat you and the family, some things have to spoil, because he has to be able to come into himself at some point without saving him then. Because I think that's a part of the problem, you know. We tend to want to save. I mean, I talk about myself included. Guilty, and guilty. Because we feel as if we, as you said, we know everything. Yes, Courtney.
Sandra, you know, I listened to John and I was listening to Andre and Nashan, and just because I didn't write, I had a point from a Nashan thing. But when you think about a career, what you want to be, don't you go and study for it?
Yes.
You study to understand the workings of what you want to do and what you want to become. Now, in terms of the same conversation that we want to have with our boys about how them become men, the same conversation that we have with our girls, we need to come meet a middle ground to recognize this one key point that has been affecting us. Male and female are not enemies.
No.
You can excel to the highest as a woman and it not affect me, and I can excel to the highest, and I must not see your achievement as me not going to get to where I need to get to, because as a woman you reach up there. We're not the get. In the Bible, when it said God made Adam and Eve, he said he gave him a helpmate. It never said he gave him a helper. He gave him a helpmate, so a partner in the process. We have to understand that we have in this journey, we need each other. Because you see, when Andre said him jump through the window and go do because he want to play basketball, my mother allowed me to go on the street, but she never stopped me from learning to cook and wash and clean. So we have to understand that we were equipped our boys to be men, so they have them understand responsibility in order to become good men in society. Same way we teach a girl about wash, you must iron, because don't make the man come take advantage. You don't want no woman come take advantage of your son. Teach him the right way to
help himself.
Yeah, but who is going to teach him that?
No, but I'm saying in terms of the domesticated things.
I know. So who is going to teach him that? The man or the woman?
No, he's going to learn that from his mother, but in terms of the development, in terms of big.
You froze.
You froze, Courtney.
Yeah, but to continue on Courtney's point, right? We have to start somewhere. So the mothers.
You don't think, Andre, that if a son saw his father doing the ironing, doing the cooking, he'd be more open to doing it than his mother teaching him?
Of course.
It goes without question. It goes without question. I think you said it. There's a marked difference. There's a marked difference when a dad or a father brings his son to the barber shop. Why? In most cases, because I can remember when my mother used to bring me to the barber shop, she bring me and drop me off.
Right.
The father dead there, and he might have conversation. The son a listen. He might observe. So it's the same thing we're saying. We in order to become men, move from boyhood to manhood, you know, it has to be, it's learned behavior. Everything is learned behavior, right? So when we go back to it now and we look at all these boys who are transitioning, there's not enough men. There's just more boys. I think that's what John was alluding to. They are being raised by boys.
The man says the studies show that a lot of men don't pass the age of 17.
Which is true.
And hold on, and let me give you a little history. We use those ages as if it means something. At 19, Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. 19. Because in those, going back that far, you were a man at 13.
Yes.
But that's
So-
not so now. Because
No, exactly. And the
our
difference
No,
is,
but that's a
black
policy.
alone,
and hear the
a lot
difference.
of our parents don't give the boys any responsibilities in
No,
the
but
home.
hold on, no, it has nothing to do with responsibility. And here the difference. At 13, in ancient time, in olden time, you literally moved into the company of men. Right now, at 13, you move into the company of youngsters. You now hang out with teenagers who don't know nothing, just like you.
But
Right.
Whereas
it's, no, but it's worse now because they don't hang out at all.
no,
No,
well,
that's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
No, they
That's
hang
not
out. Of
true.
course, they hang out. They hang out with on the internet and stuff. They communicate. They still
Yeah.
communicate.
It's just not personal hanging out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but in those times before, at 13, as a little youth, you became an apprentice. I mean, let us go back to the Bible. Jesus was raised by Joseph. He was not. When he was 13, he moved from Mary and was influenced by his father because that is the Jewish tradition. So at 13, he joined his father as a carpenter and he learned how to be a carpenter. And he was in the company of men.
Right.
He wasn't in the company of boys. He was in the company of men.
Yeah.
And that is where we miss. I mean, you talk about solution. For me, we need, as a society, need to honor fathers more.
Yes.
When we
Yes,
find,
sir.
we need to say, listen, not so much worthless men. We need to say, this man is a good man. This is what is the ideal. And we need to locate these men who are doing things and say, this is what we expect. Because
All right, John, quickly on that, John.
Yeah, go on.
Quickly on that. That is one thing that we recognize. We have what we call a male group network. Andre knows about it. And one of the things that came out of it is that we need to paint more positive images of our men and boys. With the media is so bombarded with negative images. Man of this, man of that, worthless, beta, just everything that is monstrous about them, right? So we say we need more positive messages, which is why we did the program called Amazing Dads. And as I said, Andre was featured on it. We decided to put more positive messages out there regarding our men and our boys. Fatherhood. Last year we did our annual Bureau of Gender Affairs. We have our Outstanding Fathers Award. And we just concluded at our event at International Men's Day on November the 19th. We did another set of men who we recognized. They received awards for being outstanding, exemplary fathers and role models, positive community builders, leading figures for boys. So, to allude to John's point, it is very important to recognize our men, to celebrate them, not to beat them down every chance and opportunity we get. We model what is it that we see. If you see people doing negative behavior, you want to be negative. If you see people doing positive stuff, that's why we have our role models and our boys. We want people that they can look and say, oh, it's normal to be a positive person, to be an influence. And they will take it back and go amongst their peers and become that positive image. So we want to portray more positive images of individuals and not just all this thing that they have in the media covering everything that's negative about men and boys. Yes? So, John, to your point, as I said, it's extremely important. Extremely important.
I am offering Totally Male's platform to promote any program. I am giving you my word right now. Any program you have to promote, any kind of positive aspects about any program you have, you can use our platform. No, you don't have to ask for twice. You don't have to ask us twice because we believe at Totally Male that with the stability of the male in our society, Jamaica will become all that it can be, because the women are on their way. The women
Okay, no, they're not. They're not
however,
on their way.
however, when I say on their way, they are on their way to
What?
no, they are on their way in terms of earning, managing, but we don't want a flustered woman. We don't want a frazzled out woman. We don't want a woman who beat out and tired. We want a woman who can coexist with her children, whether they're together or not, who can coexist because there's a full understanding of what is necessary to
Sandra,
bring up the children.
that takes emotional intelligence. We'll have to get to the place where
So
we
you say we
understand.
can't get there?
No, I'm saying we have to get to the place where, and I'm not saying just women, no, male and female. We need to get to the place where we are. So I'm the father of a child, and if I'm the father of a child, and just because the relationship didn't work out, you tell the child some things about me. That's not how it works, Sandra, because I read something the other day that says a woman who loves her child, don't keep her away from the father, don't keep the child away from the father.
My mother has never ever said a right word about my father, ever.
Yeah, but
Ever.
that is the old generation. That's not the new generation.
That's right. That's not the new generation.
And here the thing, because what Courtney said, this is how I was taught. Adult business is adult business, and pick your own business in adult.
That's
business.
right.
So I did not interfere. I was not allowed. My parents did not tell me about what was going on with them. There was a separate life. I had to ask my father, hold on, daddy.
Johnny, they're asking you a question. They're saying you're saying that women are not on their way. Why are you saying that?
Because the society is crashing. And earning money is not the way to say that the society is thriving. Because I have a lot of women friends, and a lot of women friends who are doing very well are frustrated. They don't feel fulfilled. They don't want to be female men. They want to be men. Right?
Yeah,
So,
but what are our choices?
so here,
What
so
are
let me,
our choices?
I'm going to give you this. We need to get men to understand that there is a value to the masculine energy.
Absolutely.
As I said to somebody the other day, you hear a lot of people saying men need to find their female side. Most men don't even know what the masculine side is. Men need to find that first. And they get that by being associated with older men. I have been very lucky because I have most of the people who have been my influencers have been older than me. My brothers are older than me, then my father. Then I have older friends. Norman Williams. I have so many people who are much older than me because I realize that older men have wisdom that I don't have. There are two things older men give you. They understand your pain because they have been there, and they can show you a path. So because you as a person sometimes feel that what you are going through is only you alone going through it, and it is comforting to know that other men have been through it and can say, listen, and listen, the worthless man can tell a story and can say to him, son, I have been worthless. I don't want you to pass on because I have suffered for that.
Even him have a place.
Him have a big place.
Yeah.
He has a big place.
Okay.
But if we keep assuming that men are not valuable, which is why you see when Father's Day come around, if you look at the hurrah over Mother's Day,
It's getting better. It's getting better. Let me just
I'm going to
say,
tell you one thing that I think.
better.
I'm going to tell you one thing that I think you, Sandra, can do. You need to let women know not to be afraid of men getting together and being in a group all by themselves. Because you see, when I was putting on the men's retreat, you know, most women was vexed and said, why them can't go? Obviously, because we want men, we don't want women. They were so offended by the idea that we men were going to take their sons away from them. And I pointed
out. It's not only you alone, remember, when I just started this business now, women called to find out what we doing there, why them can't come there. And I'm saying, but you have thousands of female spas. Why it can't be unisex? Why and why and why and why? So I know exactly what you're talking about. You're saying
And
Yes.
look, so let
And
me
that
give you an
is
idea. Let me give you an
the
idea
toxic
of the structure
femininity.
that has
hold on,
happened.
hold
That
on,
is the
Andre.
toxic femininity.
Hold on,
Uptown
Andre.
structure.
Let
Q1
Johnny
is
finish and
Rotary
then I
Club.
come to you.
Q1 is Rotary Club. The cricket clubs. Women have worked hard to say why that shouldn't be we call it again, unisex and stuff. And let me tell you what happens. You see, when women come into the company of men, men change. Don't it, men? Men are completely different when they are by themselves than when you bring one woman into the group and that whole dynamics change.
Yeah, because it becomes a different thing. Just to add to that, John, I mean, whenever I go into a school to talk, in most cases, if it's a female teacher asks her to leave the room, 90% of the time, the boys have cried. 90% of the time.
Yeah.
So the conversation needs to happen in so many different ways, you know. But you just said it. You just said it, John. We need more platforms to bring men and boys together, you know, in a positive way. We just need it. It's
And I'm
absolutely
going to give you,
necessary.
I'm going to show something that Kevin Wallen opened my eyes to. Think about this. A lot of women are raising little boys and boys by themselves and being both man and father. And it takes a woman a lot more to get a boy to behave. And Kevin said something that stuck in my mind. He says most men who are raised by just women have a love-hate relationship with them. Because this is the woman,
Yes.
this is the person who is supposed to love you unconditionally. But when you're wrong, she taking off her belt and she beat you like she's a beast. He said, think about it. Why do you think a lot of men who abuse women say, I love you? Because that's what your mother tell you after she beat you. I'm beating you because I love you. And when he said it to me, I thought, well, you know, the reality is that in my life, my father was the only one who beat me. My mother used to use him as the big bad threat. Wait till your father come on, I tell him. See, because she never beat me. She just said, wait till daddy come home and you fret. But so my mother has always been this unconditional love for me.
Yeah, but you know, Johnny, I have seen where the dynamics have shifted, where let's say a child is crying and the father is with the son and he's saying, I'm going to call your mother, or you go get the mother, and it's the mother who comes in and it's the mother who is, so he has shifted that responsibility.
Because he doesn't know. He has no example. You're asking, him being a father don't mean that he learned how to be a man.
That is true.
Yes, John. John, I can compound that. I mean, when I became a father, I told myself, whoa, you are responsible for this life. You've become a man. All right, how much change a diaper? How do I hold her? How do I? And it's similar to even me getting my first car. How do I change a spark plug? How do I change what is a lug tool?
As
You know,
Courtney
so you see the things boys go through.
you go to school, you learn, you study.
Right. So,
You know,
and
Nate, you know, Nashan, you know what I would love the gender thing to do? I would like us to have little seminars where boys can learn how to do things in the house. Because a lot of women like the fact.
Agree, John.
You know, learn how
You know,
how to
I'm
do
going to talk about
little
that.
stuff to fix around. Because here's
right,
a
so
statistics,
minister,
gentlemen. Women prefer men who do yard work and fix things in the house than men who cook and do the laundry.
Really?
Because women think, listen, women don't necessarily need men to cook.
It's true.
Women don't
Yeah.
mind. Some women don't mind being the woman. But them don't want no worthless man. Them don't want a man who sit down and can't do one goddamn thing.
That's true.
He can't put on a light bulb. He can't fix nothing. He can't fix no toilet. He can't fix no car. If the flat tire there, you have to call a mechanic. So they don't consider him a man. Because he can't do anything.
Right. And some of those are the ones who strictly just rub out them hand middle and beg for handouts. Some, not all. Because most of those youths have a trade. Most of them.
My business partner taught his 3 daughters how to change the tire. And when one of them went out with a bunch of boys, she's the one who had to show them how to change the tire.
That's sad.
New how.
But if them don't learn, them don't know. It's simple. Them don't learn, them don't know.
So that is why I was saying that it would be nice if they are certain. Women need to not be afraid of men coming together if they are learning the right stuff. And we need to have these institutions that are.
Nashan was going to respond. You're going to respond, Nashan? Because I have a very Yes.
Yes. Or honorable minister.
Let Nashan,
I was saying our honorable minister, it was at our International Men's Day Forum that she talked about a program that was there before I was. I think it was in association with the Jamaica Household Workers Union, that to have young men learn how to do household work, things around the house, the yard, and so on. And she said she wanted to bring it back. And I thought our young fathers initiative would be definitely an opportunity to do this. So to your point, John, yes, we're as I said, anything that we have that can help with the development of our men and boys, it's welcoming. Sandra, I'm going to take you up on your offer because we have these programs, and we'd love for you to come on board on some of these programs. It would be just, as I said, we cannot do anything without partnership and collaboration. That's the first thing. I need to put that out there. Majority of what we have accomplished is through partnership and collaboration. We have so many agencies that has helped us tremendously along the way because they know government have limited resources. And what we have is that we have to work together to put forward these programs and policies, right? When we're doing studies on paternity leave and so on, you'd be surprised to know some of the organizations like Flow and so on.
I saw the question being asked.
The question it is understandable in this time where you would
look like he froze up.
With your son, especially if they say no parents are allowed.
Sandra?
No parents are allowed. People are saying
females are allowed.
No females are allowed.
Right. So it's not that you're saying no males are allowed.
No.
But you know how they got to this stage, Sandra, with this the question by Tina?
Yes.
Is that the positive things that happen in an environment where you involve children, those are not highlighted. It's the negativity where you talk about a priest that molests a child. You hear all of those news coming up, but we don't talk about the positiveness of a YMCA or the gender group. We don't talk about those things. We talk about the negativity, and negativity sells the news.
Right.
Yes. True.
But I know it's 2 hours. We're supposed to be wrapping up now, but I don't want to end the program without touching. I know it won't take off, but I have to ask. Homosexuality exploding.
What about it?
Is there would you say there's any connection with the lack of male role models?
How do you know it's exploding?
Meaning, all right, let me correct that. It has become more, it's more visible then. It seems commonplace. It seems the norm these days. It just seems to be multiplying in my estimation. Everywhere, it's no, I mean, when you look at TikTok, it's like they have taken over TikTok. I mean, it's everywhere.
All right, Sandra.
In my growing up,
but statistically, is it true?
I didn't see that.
No, but Sandra,
I mean,
let me answer that.
With the social media, they have a bigger platform. Now, let me categorically say I have nothing against homosexuality or anything. Meaning, I have friends who are. I'm just saying. A lot of persons are looking for explanations as to how it just seems to be commonplace these days. Every sitcom, every movie, it's like a pushed agenda everywhere.
And
Where are we going? I mean,
no, let me try and answer that, Sandra. It isn't. I don't know if it's exploding.
Yeah.
I believe that because now there is social media, and so you're seeing, and there's a more acceptance of the kind of. So when you look at a show, I'm going to use a show that my children watch, Supergirl. They had to bring Supergirl's sister having a girlfriend, and these things are now almost what you want to call the acts. It's being not accepted. It's being pushed. The agenda to push this to say we are not standing in the way of anything. Anything goes. So we're giving you equal rights. And so maybe when I was a child, homosexuals did exist, but it was not as open as it is now. And so that's why it seemed like it's exploding to you.
I'm asking you, do you think there is any connection with all the other stuff happening?
But I think so. Boys need men.
Yes. Right.
I would say that there must be some factor.
Is there? Do you think that there's any connection to the lack of them knowing of their own masculinity and maleness, for want of a better word?
Let us say this: homosexuality has always been a part of humanity, so it is not going to disappear.
Right.
So the question is, because it is out of the shadows, is it more now than it was? I don't know. But what I do know is that if boys don't understand who they are, then they are confused. And therefore, the likelihood or the possibility of people exploring those things are much more than if they had a sense of who they were earlier. And then there is a group of men who or people who are born that way.
Right.
There are people who are born that way, and those people who are born that way doesn't necessarily say that a homosexual man cannot be a masculine man. There is nothing that says that. Exactly. There's nothing that says that a masculine man is only a heterosexual man. There are both ways. But I do believe that if you work on what the social issues are, you probably would get a lot less. Because boys are confused, girls are confused. There's this agenda being talked about how that gender is fluid. But here the reality, the human fetus is female. And then a surge of testosterone turns us into male. And we get that shot twice. We get that in the womb and we get that at puberty. So women and men are equal enough. There's no doubt about that. But we are different. You are dealt with estrogen that gives you a completely different effect. And I think our society, Western society, has ignored what ancient people know and have believed that whatever they come up in their mind is what. Like we believe that we own this earth. We don't. We are just part of we are on top of this food chain because we have learned to cooperate with each other more than anybody else. But we also need to understand that we need to obey the rules and understand what the biology is. Men are different from women. And I think the world needs that. We don't need to be the same being.
No, we don't. We don't need to be the same at all. Yes, Andre.
Right. So, guys, I alluded to it in the beginning when I was saying there's an agenda. Right? So, Sustainable Development Goal 5 speaks to gender equality. But Nashan said it. gender equality in a lot of persons' eyes is homosexuality being seen as, homosexuals being seen as equal, being allowed to marry, which, let me also say, I have no problem against it. And I'm very, very happy as a young person, a youth advocate and community advocate, that we've migrated from actually attacking persons because of their sexuality. I'm very happy for that. But there's an agenda. There's not enough male role models. Did you know that even some women have a problem with the word female? Some women have a problem with being called a female. So as a young youth advocate, internationally exposed, when I try to even write a proposal, it is, and you said it, Dr. Herbert Gale said he can't get funding. It is easier for us to get something that speaks to gender equality than it is to speak to anything else. At the fastest you'll get money, the fastest you'll get funding. May tell you that. And you talk to any NGO, them tell you. But what I have done and what is unique is that there's nothing wrong. I've seen the connection. Yes, we need to write against gender-based violence, but we switch it around. We start focus on the perpetrators and the victims together. So when I write a proposal, I write it saying, yes, we need to bring the young women in a space so that they can speak about what they're experiencing, but also we need to bring the young men in a space too. And Nashan, this is what I've been talking to the Bureau about. The space for a young woman might be those empowerment conferences. The space for a young man is the basketball field, our court, and the football field, the domino table. So when I mentor to guys, I had a guy, just quickly for me to wrap up, I had a young guy that they wanted me to mentor. And they thought I was going to carry. I said, come man, we're going to the strip club. And he said, no, what we call a strip? I said, yeah man, right, so we're not going to strip club. Come and go play 2 domino. I was going to play domino and I kept asking him questions in between games. When I done, I know everything. So these are the ways that we need to, move out in terms of correcting a number of these behaviors that have been learned. When you become an adult, when you become a man, any human being, there's a lot that we have to unlearn. So there's so much work, man. It's overwhelming at times.
All right, so we're going to have to wrap. Okay, so, Tina says the BGA, anybody knows that acronym? Also,
Bureau of Gender Affairs.
Huh?
Bureau of
Gender Affairs.
Also recently announced an upcoming program for perpetrators. It is called the Refocus Perpetrators Program to assist in reducing gender-based violence.
What exactly is gender-based violence? What is gender-based violence? Violence against women, or what exactly?
No. It's not one-sided. It's not one-sided.
Yeah, quickly, right? It's basically doing harm against someone because of their gender. So because they think a woman is like physically weaker, you attack her. You would attack your male counterpart if he disrespect you, but you attack your female counterpart, right? So that's gender-based violence. Men who are being battered by women, right? That's gender-based violence. You directly take harm that person, whether emotionally, psychologically, mostly physically, just for the sole purpose of them being a female. And not to be confused, because people will say that femicide and gender-based violence because they will see a woman die. And that could be woman kill a woman, or it can be just, a number of persons die one time and it's no attack on woman. It's just because, say 4 persons there, 1 is a woman, and so we don't want to confuse it. Gender-based violence is directly, harming someone because they're a male or they are a female. And most of the time,
okay, it's frozen again. All right. So I'm gonna give everybody 2 minutes, exactly 2 minutes, to wrap what you want to see from this point, because we have to leave here with some kind of solution-oriented statement. Let us start with you, Courtney.
All right, so we started off by asking about male versus man, and where do we go from here? And we have established that boys need men in order to get to where we want them to be. And one of the things I believe that we as older men need to understand is that we just need to be available, because our availability is what is going to cause the transformation of these boys. So it may be in my space, or it may be in a setting. You and I had a discussion about inviting boys to Totally Male that never experienced that kind of treatment before. So we're bringing them into a space that's going to cause them to understand that you don't deserve anything less. So not because you never experienced it before don't mean you don't need to experience it. And yes, we need to go into schools, because the school is a breeding ground for the brethren to tell the brethren. So if a brethren come from a particular area and tell him, say, yo, my youth, at this, he is going to gravitate towards that boy, that almost macho man male, who is going to bring him across in a particular way. Now, if you and I, Andre, John, or Nashan go into the school and we show them that there is a better way, you don't have to pick up badness. You don't have to be tutored by what you hear out there. You don't have to be cultured by because you see this happening. You don't have to wear your pants below your waist because you see people doing it. There is a better way. And so my availability, so there's a place called YMCA. How many men go to YMCA and just read to the boys there? Just read. It's simple enough. Read. It not take to just read. But when you make yourself available, a boy is going to see you as a safe person, and he will move into your safe space. He may just come and just say to you, yes, sir. But the second time you go back, he may share a little story with you, and you are able to share something with him that's going to cause it to open up a little more. And before long, this boy will be sharing things with you that he never shared with anybody else before. And that is how you're going to reach him. You are going to cause yourself to become vulnerable so that the young man becomes vulnerable. Availability, I say.
Right. Yeah. Andre?
Wow, that was profound, Courtney. Boy, not lying. So quickly, it just gave me an idea, some of what you said, Courtney. The Bureau now has me on a mentorship program. Sandra, they have roughly 30 kids that they've teamed up with mentors. So I think we can get the requisite funding to ensure that all of these young men have a totally male experience. And that means coming to Totally Male, getting your, necessary pampering, as well as for us to, in our collective effort, have a forum. Because I've been considering it for a number of years now, that there are not enough male empowerment forums, So we need to, I'm looking at it for 2021 with the Voices for Jamaica Today Foundation. And I'm also looking at a girls' symposium, because there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance. What I'm putting forward now, and we will discuss it, and I hope for us to continue having these discussions and similar discussions, but we will start working towards building. Because I'm sure among those 30 young men, if even 5 of them go back to their community empowered, it's like a baton. Then pass it on to maybe 10 others. You understand? And that is the solution to really change this thing for the better.
Awesome. John?
All right, I'm going to go a little left field on all of it. Sandra, you said something that stuck in my mind about the hole you have because your father was not around. And I think as a society, we need to push this idea of the importance of fathering. Not just fathering men, but fathering boys. And let me say why. Because if women feel their first love is supposed to be their father, and that love is supposed to be a love that they can trust, which sets them up to have strong relationships with other men. If we don't get right back to the fundamental and say, listen, having a child is a sacred duty. Do not have children if you're not ready for it. We need to push that kind of thing. And when you become a father, you need to be there. It's all about attachment. You need to be attached. So most of you guys have daughters in front of you. You need to be attached to your daughters, because your example to them will give them the idea of how they are going to relate to other men. So while we speak about the fact that boys need help, we are also addressing the fact that women, because of the absence of their fathers, also are suffering. And we need to just kind of bring as a society to say, listen, men are important. We are not important. Fathering is an important, just as how we big up mothers. Because you realize in this society, mommy is the greatest thing. We need to say, fathers, you are also great. You are also very important, regardless if it is a boy or a girl. And then we need to get more men, because everybody has this thing, men, 50s, 60s, getting involved with younger men to show them, listen, you're not alone.
Right.
This is not you alone. What you are feeling, we have gone through. Because that's a very important thing, you know. You think some of the thoughts you have in your mind is only you alone have it. And when another older man can say, no man, I got through that. I had those thoughts. This is what you need to do, so and so. But we need to show the importance of men. That's basically what I say. I mean, the idea behind the men's and boys club that we are doing, we will start that next year, because basically the only reason we haven't started is because of COVID-19. Right. We already have the two military men who have committed, two very senior military men who have committed to help us go through, you know, we go on tour. And as a matter of fact, we discussed the idea that we would have a rites of passage where the boys would walk from Mary's Bank all the way up to Blue Mountain, because it's the highest peak. And I've tried that once. It is not an easy journey. but it is a journey that if you do it, you feel like you have accomplished something. You know, so we men just need to get together and try and bring our boys into that world of men. And we need to figure it out. And also we have to recognize that this is going to take a while. It's not going to happen overnight. We're talking about a generation, 40 years.
Well, gentlemen,
well, Sandra, remember I promised to read that poem.
Oh, yes.
Men. So let me just read it before we go.
Yes, sir.
So on International Men's Day, I sat there and I wrote this. I noticed on Men's Day, no banners were flown, which mimicked Father's Day, where affection is rarely shown. We hardly ever celebrate the efforts of a man, but quickly highlight his failings, listing out each and every one. We know it's our responsibility to do the things we do, but encouragement sweeten labor. It's nice to hear we appreciate you. And so that I wrote on International Men's Day, because I actually go when I go to church on Father's Day, you know. Or some like a nail clip we get, you know. And when Mother's Day coming up, some big thing go on, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
The fathers are just apartheid.
We need to honor.
We're working on it, and I, if we continue to work on it, because I believe very strongly what the mind can conceive, we will achieve. And I believe that all of us are in the same, and we are not the only ones. We are not the only ones. This was an amazing conversation. It is by far the longest, but I believe it was well worth the conversation. And as I said in my little blurb to advertise this program, I'm thinking seriously of having a space, maybe on maybe on Insta, I don't know, or maybe we'll continue it on YouTube. But I believe we need to have a space, not necessarily Boss Lady Live, but to continue the conversation about male issues and how we can help our men to be stronger in the society. And we don't have to choose. We don't have to choose male or female. This is something that we want to do together. This is something that we have to do together because the family requires balance. It's not optional. The family requires balance. And so therefore, I think we have to really have some very serious conversations. So thank you once again, gentlemen. John Isaacs, Andre Blackwood, Courtney Whyte, and Nashan Williams.
Miller.
Nashan Miller. He's have stepped up. I don't know if he has another program or he's actually just died.
No, he said he was trying to come back on, but he wasn't able to come
back on. All right. So I know you speak for him when you say we are to get more involved. I am committing myself as well as Totally Male to this venture. I have always been committed to the development of all males. And I truly believe once we find that sweet spot where there's the balance between male and female and we understand each other and we understand men, and this is where I come in and women come in. We need to make men understand that they are valued and valuable. And so they will strive to live up to that. And so with that, yes, we don't know. Because
quickly. Relationship between man and woman. Respect and appreciation coming from
respect and appreciation, yes. But then, as I said to you earlier, men need to understand that they teach people how to treat them. You teach people how to treat you, and what you want out of life must be required. So if you sell yourself like a money pit, that's who you're going to be treated as. If you sell yourself as a dick, that's what you're going to be treated as. If you sell yourself as a credit card, that's what you're going to be treated as. But if you sell yourself as a man, that's how you.
One key thing I wanted to say to you guys was that what a lot of us forget is that we still suffer from the byproducts of slavery. And the man, now hold on, the black man was emasculated in so many ways. So it's going back so far that, there's, as I said, there's a lot for us to unlearn.
Yes.
So we have to regroup and come again.
Andre,
we have to regroup and come
engineering, so we socially engineer the other way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We have to regroup and come again.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I have to go now, guys. It was great.
Yes.
I think we might, if we stay any longer, we might need a part 3. Sandra. Nashan said he needs contact.
Yes.
Oh, hello?
Yes. He said his internet
he said he needs contact.
For him. And so I will be in touch with Nashan because I am going to work with the Bureau. I didn't even know they would feel this.
You guys are welcome.
Courtney has also committed himself to be signed up in the mental program.
And Sandra has been on board.
Johnny is already on, I'm sure he's on board as well. So good night, everyone. Thank you for joining. Next week, we will have the woman speaking on women's affairs. So that should also be interesting. We have some we'll be having a powerhouse just like this group. So stay tuned for next week, same place, same time, 8 p.m. Jamaica time. www.youtube.com/the Totally Male. Please like and subscribe. Subscribe to our channel. And also, you can see us on Samuel Sandra Facebook and on Totally Male Facebook page. Good night, gentlemen. Peace.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you.
Blessing. Love you.
All right. Blessing. Bye-bye.
Blessings. All right. Good night.
Night.